I want to start welcoming you here to YouTube Live. We appreciate your audience today, and please make sure to give us some notes here afterwards. Just to point out, we will not be monitoring the chat box in YouTube Live. Thank you. Good evening. We'll start welcoming everyone to our Gov School session here. Doing a prime time session here, primarily because of the hurricane that went through. And I know we've got a lot of questions today about SAM registration, disaster response, and we wanted to make sure we had a good opportunity to answer them. When you first come into the room, you are on a mute status, and I appreciate you maintaining that as long as you don't have a question. If you got a question, you raise your hand, and I'll call on you and see if I can answer that question, or you can type the question in the chat box. I'm going to keep the chat box open today. And let me just go ahead and open that up now. We're done. Let's start it here right about 8 o'clock and get everybody a chance to come into the room tonight. I said hello, everyone, in the chat box. And you leave questions. I'll come there as we have time. I'll come back to those questions to answer them for you. Okay. We'll get started right about 8:01. I think we'll spend probably about 30 minutes tonight with primary presentation, and then I'll hang around with questions as long as you have them. Okay, try to answer those questions. We'll probably drop off YouTube Live when the questions start, just for privacy reasons. So I like to make sure everybody's comfortable with that. I'm going to continue welcoming everyone here to our Gov School session this evening on SAM registration. It's that time of the year as we're getting ready for a new fiscal year in October. Always to check in, make sure you're updated, you got everything right. I'm going to walk you through some of the critical changes that have happened in the last year and things that you need to pay attention to in order to reaffirm your ability to not only bid on just general federal ones, but even where the federal dollars attached, and especially that a lot of the disaster related activities. I think if you're in Florida or South Georgia now, that's moving up the coast of South Carolina, there's a lot of damage, and they're looking for contractors to step in. They'll be coming over the next few weeks here, and you should make sure you're ready to do that. We'll get started here in about 4 more minutes. I do ask that you maintain your mute status while you're in the room. It just helps with everybody with the background noise. It is recorded live on YouTube as well. And so if you have a question, if you raise your hand, I will call on you. You can also type your question in the chat box or comment, and I'll stop at certain points to make sure you have an opportunity to get those answered. It's one of the first ones we've done at 8 p.m. session, so I'm not sure how big the audience will be, but it looks like it's a good one. Hi, David. Good evening to you. Seeing a lot of familiar names here, so I'm glad you guys are with me. Share with you, we're glad to report that we passed 130,000 registered members this past week. It's we've been working hard to get to that number, and we're very thankful that you're using our services. I did launch a quick poll. If you want to take it, let me know who's here is actually registered Sam, and if you've last time you updated. We'll get started here in 2 more minutes. So good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Knowles. I'm one of the founders and I'm president of the GovDirections LLC, and we host, of course, RFP delivery and govdirections.com website. This is my LinkedIn profile. I encourage you all, if you want to link in with me to learn more about why I actually do this work. I enjoy doing it. One reason I'm here tonight, 8 o'clock p.m. here in Eastern time to give you really a kind of a prime time special about SAM registration. It's that time of the year where we need to check in and make sure that we are properly registered, not only to actually go after those federal contracts, but also whenever these disasters occur, that we can step in for disaster spending. So I'll say hello to everybody. I usually don't focus so much on my image, but at those set websites themselves, and we'll talk through that. This is live on YouTube, so that you're aware of that for privacy reasons. So if you have a question, you can type it in the chat box and I'll read it out, or you can raise your hand, technically speaking, and I'll call on you at the appropriate time. In addition, just know that it is being recorded and everything will be available to you right after this session. So here we go. People are still coming in the room. I want to make sure you all have time as I just kind of quickly go through. GovSchool itself is a part of our services where we actually try to help you not only, of course, find the bids, which is our primary purpose, but also win the bids and give you the information that you need in order to do that. And we launched our services, this service here in the mid 2010s, and it's been very popular. It's a way for you to learn. We have hundreds of hours of videos on YouTube, so I encourage you to take a few minutes to watch some of those, and hopefully we can have been able to share some specific knowledge with you. You can always come and take a look at our schedule and see classes that are available, not only ours, but others across the country that are typically freely available for you, and so that you can learn how to do business with government. So that's always there for you as a service. And of course, our RFP delivery website now is a primary place that you go to learn about bids. Some 45,000 active listings at any given time. non-speculative. We added about 5,000 bids a day, about every 2 or 3 minutes. About 2 to 3 every minute. And so it's a constant flow of new bids and RFPs that are there for you to pursue. You saw that app there. You can download that in the App Store. Takes away that concept of times. As soon as there's something that's there, you can tap into it and you can see it. We also have services where we help you with your capability statement, as well as actually to an experiential process of helping you learn how to actually write the responses to bid. But our primary purpose is really teaching you how to find the projects themselves. But I do want to tell you, because a lot of times when we first start, we find ourselves really taking a look at some of the federal. In fact, a lot of us actually first come to this marketplace. We've stumbled on it because we kind of think that the government itself is really what we really commonly know as the federal space. In fact, I actually go in a lot of times and use this demonstration slide just to quickly point out our purpose. We're located first in Atlanta, but this is a sector that is fragmented on purpose. We have a home rule philosophy in the United States. We want to make our decisions as localized as possible. And so the local, state, and federal agencies practice that. It's not a broken system by any means. And I use a puzzle to kind of illustrate that fact. There's really close to 140,000 agencies that are issuing calls for bids and proposals every day, just like that puzzle box, thousands of pieces sometimes. And until you sort of start putting it together, it doesn't really make a lot of good sense to you. But when you get those end pieces on there, it all starts coming together quickly, and you're able to then make some sense out of it. And that's what we really try to do in the bid and contracting marketplace. It's just unwieldy and typically not possible for most contractors to, even where they are, it's very difficult for you to go out there and monitor all these websites where bids are published. And we've stepped in and do that. And we're one of the world's largest aggregators of this type of information, specifically US-based projects. Now, RFP Delivery itself is a geospatial tool, just to quickly point out. So you can come in and you can see all of those bids that are published somewhere, usually where the American dollars flow in, like a US embassy or maybe a military base. So you can drill in some 220 industries that we monitor. In our system, when you do work with a federal government bid, and they're always identified, where you can go in and actually search them. For example, a lot of us are doing total small business, and you can very quickly find them by applying that filter, on the left-hand side, filters within filters, and gives you the ability to narrow down and only see federal when you add the advanced parts. And when you see these federal bids, you got to be registered in SAM, the System for Award Management, or you're not eligible to bid on those. And so I want to share with you today really why that's so important that you do that. But before that I want to call attention to a couple of features that we've been adding to our site to really help you in not only managing your SAM registration, but also your small business profile and other data such as your capability statement and even your personal drives when you have higher level services with our organization. Always, though, of course, you can go to our GovDirections YouTube channel where you'll find this video immediately after this session recorded live. But up here at the top left-hand side, we have your new feature underneath your name. We'll have the UEI for your company. And we're going to be adding a new feature called teaming that's going to come soon. I can't wait to alert you to that. We'll be here soon to allow you to team with each other. But click on that UEI, and it's going to show you at your company, your individual profile with the SBA. And this tie-in gives you details that you have in place and lets you make sure you maintain that. And if you ever need some assistance in reviewing that profile, you can go in and register. I'm going to show you just quickly how you can go in and book a Zoom session with us. In addition, when you tap into your capability statement and add it to our system, it's going to give you a screen at this level where you can actually tie into your individual capability statement, drive that through your linking system to contracting officers who are broadcasting our site. As you know, about 80% of our bids are posted directly through us, either use some sort of API or a direct relationship with the government's posting, trying to reach you as an audience. And in return, we make them aware of who you are. And then, of course, higher level features helping you manage your actual bid flows in the system, including your captured bids, whenever you reserve those and you're working those and working them through the process, but then driving that to your individual document folders and your drive system so that you can have everything organized. Organization is key, and it's critical whenever you're going in to bid on any government contract. So we like to have that data quickly available for you. One of the concerns I always hear is, I don't have enough time to bid on this. Well, if you're organized right, you can take that time, which always expands to fill what's available for its completion for any kind of bid. But you can get a response back in a couple of days. Typically, I've got clients that I'm meeting with tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. In fact, where we're bidding on things that they've learned about today, and they've got everything ready. They're just going to provide a price, and they're able to actually go out there and pursue those, especially those micro purchases that you hear so much about. And so with that, what's the most important part of that? What is a really important part of it is the fact that you've got to be registered in the system for award management. And if you're not familiar with this system, then when you come here, you'll find, and I just like to remind everybody, this isn't a bidding platform. You're not bidding on SAM. This is a government system to manage awards. Okay, system for award management. It consolidates information, including active contract opportunities. Every bid is 25,000 plus. To 25,250 is a total small business. Sort of the micro, one of the second level really of micro purchasing, where they're simplified acquisition, where you can come in and pursue those. But below those, you don't necessarily see them on here occasionally. But contract opportunities. You also see contract data, past information that you can use from the FPDS system. We did a video on this this past week and showing you how to use that and really go in there, identify which, by size, various projects that have been recently issued, and then also a way for you to contract with others and team with others. You also find, other parts of this, including the wage determinations, what you have to pay, and then federal hierarchy, how organizations are set up within the federal government, so that you know where you're actually going to bid when you're looking through the actual structure of the individual agencies. And then entity information, that's the most important, a big area, because this is where you're going to make sure that you're in the disaster response registry. Some of you are here specifically for that. And it's important that you've got the right criteria set, and then in FEMA, that you registered first in this registry, but then you go to FEMA and do your profile. FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency. I'll try not to use so many acronyms that kind of come somewhat natural. I always like to point out that this is 100% free. Okay, so you can get started. You can new entity. If there's no cost for it, it's there for you. It's not as complex that some may make it appear. You just need to follow instructions as you step through it. I think I always warn everybody, one of the main things you need to worry about when you go in there is making sure you got your information in front of you, that that's when you're registered with IRS or with your state, where you have a business license, so that you have the same information. So when you enter it to SAM, that it matches, because matching is so important. Because really, I like to sometimes refer to this as a fraud prevention system. They're checking you out. Sorry about that. I should have turned off the annotation. Let's go back and do that. Somebody's marking up on this. Okay. Let me, okay. I'll block that. Let's try not to annotate. That'll be good. I don't know what I'm doing right there. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. And so when you go in there, and so what I've done is I actually have logged into SAM, and I'm ready to kind of show you my own company's registration. So when you first log in, you're actually going to come and you're going to go to the workspace. The workspace is the primary spot where you start at within this. And I'd like to point out that roles, this is something that's very important. So pay attention to that. Okay. And you may get a lot of emails once you register with SAM. Sometimes not such the best scruples, so be careful. Unless it comes from a .mil, military, or .gov, gov, a government site. It's something that you need to be approached with some skepticism. Not to say that folks don't offer very valuable services to you. And so you can pay attention to it, but know that they're not with the government. And sometimes when they kind of appear like they are with the government, that kind of gets sends you a sign that maybe they've kind of lost perspective on the scruples that the organization may have. So be careful with that. But always know this is 100% free. They would never ask you for any money. It's very rare for the government actually to reach out to you in any point anyway. Okay. So if they do, they're going to pop typically through the system here and give you a notification or request, but it's very rare. You're the one who is being more proactive and try to reach them. And that's important. So that's why sometimes you need a service like ours, kind of just to push our service to help, because we're ones pushing bids to you and so you can get a response to it. And that's really why a lot of folks want to register here, so that you get that government contract. Okay. So as you step down, you're going to find these little circles, and I always use this as a guiding point. because the first thing I always like to share with you is you always want to be in that first circle. Okay, you want to have a number one there usually. And I've got a couple of companies I manage with, a company from one of my favorite clients that I work with. So some of you who work with us, if you ask us to do that, we can help you with that. But I do it for one specific company. But you want to be here, number one. If you're not there, something's wrong. Okay. If you find yourself in these other circles, you're in the sandbox. Okay. We got to try to get you out of there. Okay. So you shouldn't be there. Okay. You eventually you kind of start when you first get your ID assigned and you get your pending assignment and you get your work in progress. And then you bounce back over here to your active registration. That's where you want to stay at. If you ever go and you see yourself here, you're inactive. Okay. Yeah, just to say there are probably about 1,200 companies a day registering in this system. A lot of them don't last for a full year. So they like to purge systems out and they just make you inactive. Okay. And they like to see you log in and register, log in and do something and update yourself once a year. Okay. So you'll get emails that potentially say, yeah, you're going to expire. You don't technically expire. You just become inactive. And if you just go in there and update your registration, then you're fine and you get reactivated. Okay. Also, when you set your next update due, okay, this date always needs to be forward facing. If you find yourself where it's inactive now, that means that it's past this date that you didn't do something, and you just need to go in there, renew and update. Okay, and so when you step in, and then you can step on down here and see some other parts of this. Shows you the folks who are actually on your account, things like that. You can request a role, making sure you have the ability to go in and do the interested vendors list, for example. I always check that with my customers to make sure that you have that capacity. If you don't know what I'm talking about, not a good thing. You want to make sure that you can do that. That's since the contracting officer signaled that you really understand how to work the system, and you're alerting them that you're interested in bidding, that you're going to bid, and you want to do that with every federal bid that you do. But when you tap in here, that's going to actually take you to your information. And when you're here, you always want to make sure you have all awards. And this, of course, it does say expiration date, but that's the inactive date. If I don't do something by this date or update, then I'm going to go inactive. And I've been in the system for so many years. Sometimes it's I don't even like to talk about a number of years, but I've been doing this since 3 different iterations of the online system that was available to my help companies bid. My unique entity ID here, my cage code, your physical address. Always remember they're looking for a physical address whenever you're when you are registering, not a post office or not a virtual. You got to have a physical address, and that's oftentimes a stumbling block for a lot of us when we first start. You want to go over here and view your record. You can update here. You can deactivate yourself, and you also can view in hierarchy where you're at. But here, what I like to do is just quickly go and to the left-hand side and view record. And so when I am activated, what I want to make sure of, I'm going to go through some basic details. I always like to point out this one particular part here, reps and certs. This is FAR, Federal Acquisition Regulations, and DFARS, Defense Federal Acquisition Regulations. And occasionally, contracting officers will ask you to send theirs. And so if you click on that, it'll pop up here and allow you to download your FAR. What this basically does, it lets you download it, and it shows you everything you've already agreed to, all of those things you went through and you checked off whenever you registered. And then I want you to have to do that over and over again. So they make it's more of a streamlined process, allows you to just download those. And so that's important that you understand that you're not just stumbling around the last minute trying to find that. And oftentimes a lot of my clients say, I don't know how to find this. And it's frustrating, and you could, especially when you got 1 hour to go or something like that. So easy here, easy download, attach it to that email, send it to the contracting officers when you bid. Here in assertions, kind of, what are we going to assert? Okay, this is where we're going to find the part where you're dealing with whether or not you are able to bid on, disaster response. Okay, and I needed that to drop in. You have also your service classifications and your size metrics, and for your small business, for example, whether or not, and most of us do fall under those size areas for various to have the total small business certification. The disaster response is what I'm hearing about right now. So many calls today. How do I get that disaster money, Mark? That all those projects down there in South Georgia or North Florida, where they got all those trees down and debris removal requirements, roofing requirements, coming in and redoing, roads and bridges and clearing. There's a lot. Just about every industry can be impacted by disaster spending. And so you want to make sure that this particular part here, that you have yes marked in, okay? And if you don't have that, then you need to update your record and add it. It's one of the steps. So tonight, make sure you log in and check and make sure this says, yes, I'm in the disaster response registry, okay? It's that simple, then you qualify, okay? And it's over here on assertions, disaster response, okay? And so I like to always just point that out. And so when you want to go in, you want to update, and then if you do want to update, you just simply, you step through each of those, you go back to that main screen that I was just at, here, go back, and I'll just do update my record, and then it'll start the update process. And you have to go through the whole thing, but don't make any changes to anything except the disaster response and potentially the NAICS codes that are related specifically to the type of work that you're trying to seek in a disaster response. As most of us know, if you've watched the video specifically on disaster awards, this is managed by the Stafford Act, governs it. And first, they are required to register, use companies that are in the areas that are directly impacted. And so oftentimes, of course, if you're impacted, you can't respond. So others can step in there and pursue that work as well. But there are specific rules that do govern that. Okay. As we're going through here, and I want to just point out one last thing before I kind of quickly move over to the FEMA profile. I mentioned that we would do that tonight as well. But when you go in and you actually search, and I'm just going to do just one at random here. Okay. And I'm just going to type in the word disaster to keep the theme for you. When you go into the search and you pull out, and let's just see if there's something here I might want to look at. Well, there's a couple of different bids that come up, but I'm just going to choose the first one. Here, when you open it up, and over on the left-hand side, under award notices, this is the option of interested vendors list, okay? And not all of us see that when you're registered. It's based on the roles that you've selected within your organization. So you want to test to see if you see that for a particular bid. So if you search tonight, and I can give you a direct link here in the chat box, so you can all kind of click on that and see if you see it. If you don't see that, then you need to update your roles within the organization so that you have the contract opportunity role within your workspace here. And then if you click on this, it'll change the screen and it'll drop in your company's name so that then it'll notify for here's mine, add to the list. It's going to notify the contracting officer that I'm interested in this bid and this RFP. So they're going to pay attention to me, okay? And I'm more likely to get a call back. I'm a big fan of government procurement officers. They do a good job, but they get a lot of calls, and they want to be dealing with the ones that really have a strong interest in working with the agency. And so this is a way to send that, and it gives them all your information. They can look that up and have that detail, including your SBA profile, and that I showed you just quickly earlier. This has been recorded. It is live on YouTube, so I'm not having a recording this for privacy reasons. Okay. So here we go on that. Take that option. It's linked there. Check it out. If you don't have that, go back into your workspace under your roles section and then add in the proper role of opportunities administrator. Okay. And you want to do that. If you have any issues ever with the system, if you click help and you step down into the options, you're going to find that there's the Federal Service Desk, and you step forward. And they're really helpful in doing it. But make sure you choose the live chat version here, not the AI live chat, which you kind of send you around. But you want to be able to go in there and ask a question. And then they're really good about helping you, or call them, or set up an incident, okay? And they'll get that straightened out for you. Okay, and as we're going through just a few more minutes, I wanted to share with you the FEMA Industry Liaison Program Vendor Profile. Okay, once you're registered in the disaster response registry, then you want to come here into the FEMA.gov page. I'll drop this into our box as well. And you'll just fill this out and you'll tell them details about your company. And it goes to them directly. It talks specifically about the spending that they're currently managing. Eventually, they'll have here Hurricane Debbie. Okay, so they'll put that information in as funds are released. Okay, and you'll put in there your cage code and your UEI. Now, when you're registering, of course, with SAM, you get your UEI, unique entity ID, and that's assigned only to you. Each one of those numbers and those letters means something specifically about your company. And then if you have indicated that you want to work with the Defense Department, and of course, that's the Department of Homeland Security as well, I believe, and you will want to make sure you have a cage code. And so some of those there's no reason why you wouldn't want to go in there and go ahead and just get a cage code, adds other digits, additional level of vetting, and that all of them mean something in some capacity. So that's an overview. And I mentioned earlier, I was going to show you if when you're in your account, if you have any questions with us, and if I can help you in your registration process, you step here under Less Zoom, and there's options here specifically for you to reserve. I'm Mark, and I drop down to the bottom part. And if you need help with just a small business checkup or just a general open discussion with questions first, but if you want to go in and actually go to a detail, even with your renewal of your SAM or your initial SAM registration, I'll be glad to help you. And it does take a little bit of time to do that. And there are charges for that actual part of the registration, but you can do it yourself. I just don't like to see folks calling us and saying, "Oh, I spent thousands and thousands of dollars, and I haven't really got anything out of it," and that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. So I like to make sure we offer that. So here we are at actually, and I told you I was going to stop the video with YouTube Live now, and then what I will do is see if you have any questions as a group. Okay, and so here, stop. I think I can do that. Okay.